The Treasurer of Australia is Josh Frydenberg, and before I get the chance to talk to him, there was a phenomenal video that he put out on social media yesterday. It was constituents of his in Melbourne who want to talk about the shadow pandemic, the people who we all know are hurting.
Fiona, who wrote to me, "I'm a mother of 3 young children and I'm struggling during this 6th lockdown in Melbourne. My husband, children and myself have had our worlds turned upside down. I cannot do this for much longer. I've loved living in Victoria until recently, where I've been raising my children. I'm a stay-at-home mum who's currently trying to maintain homeschooling and my children's well-being, while watching them become more and more fragile by the day. Dear Josh, I've never before written to a politician, but today I can no longer stand silent. Health is not just physical, it's mental and social well-being as well. I have a daughter who's been diagnosed with an eating disorder, and all I'm asking is for you to please send the kids back to school. They need some normality in their lives."
And I had a chance to talk to the Treasurer about this and a whole lot more, including the need to stick to the plan and open everything up at 70 and 80%.
Well, there was significantly a very different tone in Victoria today and an acceptance by the Premier that the state needs to learn to live with COVID. They can't eliminate the virus. Delta is more contagious than previous variants, and this is the reality that the rest of the world has confronted and Australia needs to confront. And that's why I've been saying we need to have an honest conversation with the Australian people. They need to know that living with the virus does mean more cases. It does mean people who get seriously ill, particularly the ones who are unvaccinated, and tragically it will mean some deaths. But if we don't learn to live with the virus, then the cost to the economy of these lockdowns, but more concerningly, the cost to people's well-being, and particularly our younger people. I know people whose kids are really, really struggling with mental health issues as a result of the lockdowns. And the numbers tell a very powerful story. There have been more than 340 teenagers a week who have been presenting at Victorian hospitals with mental health issues. Now, that's a 163% increase on the numbers that existed pre-pandemic. In New South Wales, it's about a 50% increase. And the concerns are particularly for not just young people, but young girls, and a growing number of eating disorders and other, various mental health challenges that people are confronting. So Patrick McGorry, who knows a lot more about this than either you or I, former Australian of the Year and noted psychiatrist, has talked about the shadow pandemic that's occurring in our midst. And while we need to do everything, Paul, to try to reduce the chance that someone gets COVID, because it is a serious illness, at the same time we've got to balance that with other health concerns, other health priorities, like protecting people's well-being and their mental health.
For those who were desperately hoping for a recession, it's not happening. In fact, in the past 3 months, the Australian economy grew, and compared to every other country bar the United States, that is best-in-class performance. Places like the UK, Japan, France, they are all going backwards. Australia is going forwards. Now, no doubt, in the 3 months we're living right now in lockdown, our economy will go backwards. But to actually hit a recession, you need 6 full months of going backwards. So, as small a point as that might be, Australia avoiding a recession is really big news.
Well, that economic support's been critical as people have lost hours of work. It's meant that they continue to get an income. For businesses that have seen their doors closed to their customers, they continue to get government support. That means that they can meet that fixed cost, whether it's the rent, whether it's the energy bill, whether it's other fixed costs that their businesses incur. But today's national accounts showed a pretty solid set of numbers. Growth was 0.7%, which was better than market expectations. It's 9.6% through the year. And what was particularly pleasing in the numbers today when you unpack them, Paul, is that it was household consumption. So families going out and spending, whether it's on tourism or transport or at hotels or cafes, as those restrictions eased, they spent money. We also saw a big increase in housing development and investment. There's a pipeline now of 151,000 house approvals that's been given off the back of the last year as a result of programs like Home Builder. We saw business investment, machinery and equipment, the farmer getting the harvester, the cafe getting a new coffee machine, the tradie getting some new tools. We're actually seeing machinery and equipment up by more than 20% since last October's budget. That's the strongest increase in machinery and equipment expenditure that the country's seen in nearly 20 years. And then, of course, we've had a bumper winter crop. And so farm GDP is up by more than 48%, year on year. So it's actually a very pleasing set of numbers in a very difficult set of circumstances, because in that June quarter, you still had 29 days where there were lockdowns in one part of the country or another, including across our 4 largest states. So it does underline the resilience of the economy, and it does give us hope and confidence for the future.